Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Gananaham Tva Ganapati Gumhavamahe Kavim Kavinamupamassnavastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anastranvan Utibhitsidhasadanam Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajivivati Dhinama Vitrayavato Ganeshaya Namaha Saraswatyai Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sumukascha Ekadantascha Kapilo Gajakarnakaha Lambodharascha Vikato Vignarajo Vinayakaha Dhumaketur Ganadhyakshaha Palachandro Gajananaha Vakratundaha Surpakarno Herambah Skandapurvajaha Om Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum Sasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Yasyad Virada Vaktradhyaha Parishadhyaha Paraskatam Vignam Nignanti Satatam Vishvaksenam Tamasraye Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheswaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Anjananandanam Biram Janaki Shokanasanam Kapi Samaksha Hantaram Vande Lanka Bhayankaram Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Shri Rama Nama Varanana Om Namayiti Yatra Yatra Raghunatha Kirtanam Tatra Tatra Krita Mastakanjalim Bhashtavari Paripurna Lochanam Marutim Namata Rakshasantakam. With Bhagavan's grace, let us continue from where we were yesterday. The sons of Diti and the sons of Aditi, they have been churning the ocean of milk, the Kshiratsaharam, and several things came out. And then finally, the Amrutam, the nectar, with the objective of which they were churning the ocean, that came out. Now, you might have, if you had ever wondered, you might have wondered, or you might not have wondered also, why the Kshiratsaharam, what is the significance, and what is this churning about, and all that. It's a very sublime application and a significance to our own life. Number one, the Sagaram, the Kshiratsaharam, is nothing but the samsaram, the life that we all lead. Why is it sweet? Because fundamentally, it is made out of that rasam, that is sweetness, which is love. It is the ocean of love in which we are appearing in these various bodies and embodiments, and mistaking that as to be our body and mind, etc., we are suffering. But actually, this is the churning that goes on, the cycle that goes on. Every time in our own life, whatever it is, thoughts or when we interact, it's always there is, as we saw in the Vinayaka lecture, Samgrame, is the word that came. If you remember the Sumukascha Slokam, one of the things is all the battles of life. And that is what this churning denotes. But what is it? What is exactly happening here? The rope with which we are churning, that is our mind. And what is the support that is there when Bhagavan took as the form of tortoise What does that mean in the Mandara mountain? Mandara mountain is a universe with which we are dealing with. And in that universe, in our dealings with the universe, everything that we think and do and speak and all that to the external world, so to speak, and that is being churned by the mind all the time. But the whole universe is supported by who? By the Dharta. The supporter is Bhagavan himself, that is Sriman Narayana himself. Then the order in which the various things that came out is very important. And the first thing that came out was what? Because sooner or later, among the various births that we take, successive births and all that, at some point in time, in things and the pleasures and all that we go through, there come a point where we say, what is this? This thing has got to end. I want to find an end to this, right? And that is what, when the mind hits at Mandara mountain and the poison comes, the very first thing when we touch the universe for what it really is. It is really nothing but Bhagavan, nothing but selfless love. And the poison, the evil thoughts, the evil tendencies, and all the malam, as they say, the impurities in us stop coming out. And where can we, if we ever analyze oneself, we see that there are lots of things to us, right? Some of our thoughts are not exactly very beneficial. We have evil thoughts, could be jealousy, could be anger, could be greed, all those 6 enemies that we have within us. But the moment we start turning to the God that is present everywhere, the first thing that happens is all these impurities get pulverized. They get vaporized. But where do they get vaporized? Where do they get eliminated? Only at the feet of Bhagavan. That is the significance that Sriman Narayana himself, who then changed his form as Lord Shiva and swallowed the poison. Because where else can these evil tendencies go? We cannot handle it, right? And the sons and Diti's son became afraid of it when they saw if the evil tendencies in us take a form and then appear in front of us, where will we run? Only to Bhagavan, right? And he is the only one who can handle it. And then several things came. And Dhanvantari came, and there is a significance for that. And then there's also the Apsaras came. And what does Apsaras mean? It's not something that, creatively speaking, rasam came and very thick juice of rasam and then became a ball, and then that swelled in size, and then it broke open and several women came out of it. What it denotes is that the desires, it's a thing that attracts. That is what when Bhagavan created, and Satarupa is what he calls it, calls the women who actually attract everything else. And these desires, the attracting desires that want to embrace us, want to wed each one of us so that we can have the desire and possess it and then be under that control. But the sons of Aditi and the sons of Diti did not want to marry the Apsaras. Why? Because their focus was on the Amrutam, which is a nectar, which is the immortality. So they said, no, I am not going to wed you, stay away from me. They were detached from the desire. And that is very important in our spiritual progress. And then came the one that doesn't appear in this book I have here. It's Bhagavan himself has said that. If Mahalakshmi came after that. And when Mahalakshmi came, that is the wealth, and that is the one that attracts us. For every one of us, we run after money, we run after power, we run after fame, run after reputation, so many things, forgetting Bhagavan. But that Mahalakshmi who came carrying the Vaijayanti Mala in her hand, and when she came, she was so attractive, much more attractive, and much more so than all the Apsarasas, because I can see, the desires are less attractive than what is attracting us, which is the power and position and wealth and all that. So what is the sons of Diti and Aditi? They were hoping that Mahalakshmi, who was extremely attractive, very attractive, and would at least put the Vaijayanti Mala, that garland she had in her hand, on their neck, and so that they could wed her. But she ignored all that, and she went to who? She went right at the end. There was this beautiful form, indescribably manoharam, attractive form of Sriman Narayana standing there, absolutely indifferent to the presence of Mahalakshmi and the attractiveness and the wealth and all that. When you do that, what did Mahalakshmi do? She went and fell at the feet of Sriman Narayana. Swami, please take me. I have no other place except you. Then, with her devotion, Bhagavan took her and put her on her chest. This is what the Vaishnavas, even to this day, we celebrate, saying that Mahalakshmi is present in the heart of Bhagavan. Because that is what Dhananjaya is. To overcome wealth is not to go after wealth, but the wealth must come after you. And that is what Bhagavan demonstrated to us with that thing. Then finally came, after we go through all these individual spiritual journey, do the Kshetrasagaram, the churning of Kshetrasagaram in our mind, supported by Bhagavan, and then all these things will come as part of the spiritual, in the spiritual path, as part of spiritual progress. We should never get attached to any of these things. We may get, for example, superhuman powers, siddhi powers will come to be able to see it through the walls, to see what is happening in the future. All these things will happen, but should not get attached to any of these things. Our focus should only be on Amritam. And that is what the story, figuratively, it describes to us. So it's a very, very important, sublime thing that is being described. And so please think about it that way. So when the Amritam came, and now what do you do? Now this also applies to us, but let us continue with the story. On a personal basis, you can apply this also. So then the moment the Amritam came, the question comes, who is going to drink the Amritam? The sons of Diti. Diti wanted to drink that. The sons of Aditi wanted to drink it themselves. They forgot when they saw the final goal, the original objective with which they started the effort, which was one of cooperation, right? They both of them joined together and churned it. And here, the moment the result is obtained, each one wanted that result to be only for him. So they started fighting. And terrible fight ensued. This is like, you can see that the fight between the goodness and the evilness in us. Okay, both are Bhagavan only. There is no difference. There is absolutely no difference. But they actually try to pull us in opposite directions. And that's the fight that Bhagavan is talking about here, that Viswamitra is talking about here, applied to us on a personal basis. So the fight was a terrible fight. And it so much so, it threatened to become a battle of extinction itself. And the earth shook under the dust of the thrust and the counter punches between the various sons. And then there was fear and anxiety that took over the whole world. And suddenly, at this extreme happening, Mahavishnu appeared as Mohini Avataram. Very important. Mohini Avataram, when Avataram comes in front of you, that itself is Mohini Avataram. Because you cannot take your eye off of it. And you will forget everything else. And that is the beauty of Avataram. That is the tremendous beauty. It doesn't matter however long it stays, your attention will be only on that Avataram. You will forget, even if somebody pickpockets you at the time, you will not realize it. It is as simple as that. So this Mohini Avataram came in a enthrallingly very charming form, right, damsel. And the moment she came, she captivated the hearts of both the sons of Aditi and Diti. So they forgot that they were actually fighting with each other. They were completely enthralled and enraptured, completely almost mesmerized by this beautiful form that is in front of them. So they forgot about the fight. And so Mohini came, she charmed everyone with her presence. And during her appearance, the Amritam disappeared. This is very important to note, because when the moment you're about to get hold of Bhagavan, this is what happens in spiritual practice. You progress and progress, then you fall back, right? You digress, and then that is what happened here. And there is a word that Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita to describe yoga brishtaha is what he calls it. People who follow yoga, the path of yoga, but not conclude it, not complete it, but fall short of it and leave that. Okay, and go another way. That is what happened to the that is what indicated by the fact that both sons of Aditi and Diti started fighting with each other, because that is what happens when you undertake the inward path and proceed forward, and as you obtain more and more power, and when you got the final goal in mind, if you have not really succeeded, if you still have the desire left in you, it has got to be absolutely tyage naika ekena amrtatvam anasuhu is what Vedam says. Only through tyagam, only through sacrifice, that amritam can be obtained. But here they did not sacrifice the desire to acquire that amritam. So they fought over the desire. That is why the amritam disappeared. And then the sons of Diti in this process, they actually died. And the mother was, Diti was absolutely shocked, beyond anyone's ability to console her. And Kasyapa, her brother, her husband, tried to console her, but she could not. There's no way, because she cried and fell at the feet of her husband and said, Swami, is this really what happened? Is this really fair? We both, Aditi and Diti, both of us had children through you. Now I have been made childless. Is this fair? So am I to continuously throughout my life be sorrowful and miserable and cry over this? Not a single one of my sons is alive. Why have so many sons and who are very short-lived? I would rather have one long-living son. Isn't it better? She kept on crying, and Kasyapa then finally, there's no way for him to console her. So he told her, you enter tapas. And tapas means again purification of your thought. That's what tapas simply means. There are several ways available to do that, and whichever way you approach, it all comes down to namasmarana, thinking of God. Because only in the thought of God can our impurities be pulverized, can be burnt. Nowhere else can they burn you. Okay, only in the moment you think of God, Bhagavan, very sincerely, that moment that impurity is completely gone. So, and that gives you, the moment impurity is gone, you become blissful. There is no sorrow after that. That is the only panacea, that is the only solution. So when Kasyapa asked her to enter tapas, that is what he meant. Keep the company of God in your mind. That is what he said. That he is the only one who can cure, who can remove all your miseries, as Dhruva's mother told Dhruva, right? It's exactly what Kasyapa said. So then Kasyapa said, you do pray to Bhagavan, and then you might have a son. You might have a son who will live very long, because that is what Diti was expressing, a desire. She wanted a long living son, right? Then he told her how to. They gave the various processes, procedures, what are the actions she should take, and what are the actions she should be careful of, and all that. And then he told her, listen, Diti, tapas is not easy. Even Bhagavad Gita says, this is not for the weak-hearted. It is not for the weak-hearted. It is very difficult for them. So it's only for those who are sincerely committed and 100% going all the way. So that's what Kasyapa said. It's not easy, Diti. One has to be very pure to the end. You have to observe all the ritualistic things, vows and fasts, and without even compromising even the slightest bit. You must do that sincerely and completely and diligently. Yogaha, karmasu, kausalam. The kausalam you must do. You must do it properly. And then only the gods will be, the devas will be pleased with you, and will grant you the boon. So Diti took his advice, then went to a region called Kusaplava region, and entered into very rigorous tapas. And because her tapas, she had resolved to get a son, her desire was to get a son who would be able to defeat the Lord of the Devas himself. That was her desire. So when she undertook the desire, obviously Indra knew about this, and he wanted to test her. So he came to her as an attendant, and Diti's prayers were answered, She became pregnant, and with Bhagavan's grace, and days and months passed, and Indra was beside her as her attendant, taking care of her while she was pregnant. Now one day, it was around noontime, very hot outside, very rigorous discipline. So, due to absolute exhaustion and tiredness, he was overcome by sleep. Like it happens to us. Sleep always overcomes us, right? We are not able to conquer sleep. Sleep always conquers us. And it happened to even Lakshmana, right? You all know the story, how sleep conquered him. After everything was done, Rama Pattabhishekam was over, everything was done. Man who has not slept for that long, and finally the goddess of sleep came and overtook him. But he allowed her to do that. But here, like us, the sleep overtook her, and so she lay down on her bed. Very important to note. She had her hair loose, it was not tied. And she was lying down on the bed, so tired, she did not head where the position for head would be. She had put the head was in the position where her feet normally will be. Okay, she didn't realize that. So hair was loose and she had kept a wrong position. This was against the rules that she had to follow. And she had been following all these in the minutest rules so diligently and so perfectly. But here, because of the fact that she became sleepy and she couldn't control it, she just lay down on the bed and both rules were broken. Now, Indra was waiting for this chance because he could not harm or hurt her so long as she was following the various rules of discipline for tapas. Now she infringed. The moment she infringed, and as we say, in the way we were brought up back in India, that those of you may recall, you go outside, you wash your feet. You have to wash both sides, both the front and the back and all that properly. Most people, sometimes they wash only the front part and not the back heel and all that. And that is wrong, right? So that's the kind of mistake that was done here. The moment Indra got his chance and found that her posture was against the Shastric commands, as commanded by the Shastras, then he punished her. What did he do? He fragmented the fetus in her womb. Basically miscarriage, right? That's what we call a miscarriage now. And now when we think, a miscarriage and the blood goes out and all that. No. Everything has got life. Sarvam Sajivam is what Bhagavan says. Once, Bhagavan Swami said there was lot of flowers and all that were there to be put on his lotus feet. And those that people did that. And some flowers were left on the plate. And told him, why did you leave those flowers? They are weeping. They're all praying. They want to touch my feet also. And touch them, go and see. And so when the person touched those flowers that had been left behind, they were actually wet. And even a stone cries. We all know the story of what happened to Gopikas. So here, the fetus, when they were fragmented, when they were broken, they started crying. Because what happened, when we think, the so-called miscarriage, when we think a fetus that has been cut into pieces, we may not recognize it, but each of that piece that has been cut is a limb in the wholeness of the fetus. So it's like various limbs of our body, right? So they were crying, and then Indra spoke to them very softly. He said, Maruda, Maruda, Maruda. Don't weep. And then, of course, Diti had a terrible bout of bleeding, which we all know in today's world. And then she said, oh my God, I got pregnant. It was growing, now I've lost it. Right? So it happens to certain mothers. Due to miscarriage, they lose the fetus. Now, once this is done, Indra did not run away. He stood in front of her with namaskarams to her and requested her, pleaded with her. Amma is the way he called her. Please pardon me. You acted contrary to the rules of what is prescribed in Shastras. for keeping the ceremonial purity, which is the vow that you have undertaken. So you broke your vow. Your hair was unbound and it was loose, and your head was on the bed where the feet are normally kept. So when you were sleeping thus, your tapas was defiled, became impure. Now, when the enemy is waiting for a chance to foil, to obstruct, and to eliminate the tapas that you have taken in order to kill me, because your tapas was to get a son who would be able to defeat me. Now I am that Indra. I have come here. You prayed for a son who would kill me, didn't you? And the fetus in the womb was to destroy me when it grew up. So I took the chance. As soon as the chance was made available, the opportunity was made available, in the dharmic way, I took a chance and killed the fetus who would have been my enemy. And so you violated the code for tapas. The fetus has been cut into 7 fragments, and Maruda to them, Maruda. So they will be born as 7 godly entities, divine entities called, even though we know Maruths, Maruths, and they are the gods of wind. And I'm conferring on you this boon today. So Indra said this, and then he returned to his place. Viswamitra continues, Rama, this is the place. He's describing the city, right? They have not reached the city yet. Remember, he's describing the story, what is the significance of this place. He says, Rama, this is the place where Indra and Diti had this dialogue and this compromise. And here, Ikshvaku, Ikshvaku Kulam, which is Rama's heritage, right? Ikshvaku Kulam, the Ikshvaku had a son called Visala. Visala's mother was Alamba Devi. This kingdom is called Visala Kingdom, Visala Desam, named after him. Then Visala got a son called Hemachandra, and he was very mighty. And he got a son called Subhadra. And then he had a son called Dhumrasva, who had a son called Srinjaya. And Srinjaya's son was Sahadeva. This is another Sahadeva. It's not the same Sahadeva. Okay, it's Sahadeva. He was very rich and prosperous. And then he had a son called Somadatta. And Somadatta's son was Kakutsa. We describe Rama, Kakutsaya Namaha, we say. That name comes from here. Kakutsa was the name in Rama's ancestors. Another reason, of course, the story with the crow, we all would have heard in Sundarakandam. Those are the 2 reasons. So Kakusta. Then Kakusta's son was Sumati. And he was a very dharmic ruler, pure and holy and equal to the Devas. Rama, this day we will enter this Visala Desam, the city of Visala, and sleep there. And tomorrow we will reach the city where Emperor Janaka is. And Sumati was the one who was ruling the Visala Desam at that time. And we will continue with Swami's grace on Monday. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Harihi Om Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om.